Let's be honest, your wallet isn't just a financial tool, it's a crime scene. Forgotten subscriptions, $7 lattes that spark joy, and impulse buys from Instagram ads. We've all been there. And here's the hard truth. No matter how many self-help books you read or 1% better everyday habits you adopt, if your money's out of control, all that effort collapses under financial stress. This is where Atomic Habits by James Clear becomes a game changer.
Habits account for 40 to 50% of our daily behaviors, and this is all the stuff that you're just doing without even thinking of.
You've probably heard how the book can help you build life-changing habits, but here's what most people miss. Those same principles are gold when it comes to fixing your finances. Tiny changes in your spending, saving, and mindset can completely transform your money habits and your life. In fact, I used Clear strategies to turn my own financial chaos into clarity. Spoiler, no budgeting apps or finance gurus required. Today, I'll show you exactly how to use Atomic Habits to identify and eliminate 5 destructive financial habits holding you back. Plus, I'll share my own story, how one small habit change saved me thousands of dollars and completely rewired how I handle money. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll have a clear roadmap to declutter your finances and finally get ahead. Have you ever had that moment where you look at your bank statement and it feels like a bad comedy? That was me. I remember one particularly brutal day. I'm scrolling through my transactions and it's like a greatest hits album of bad decisions. $14 for a premium avocado toast, because apparently I'm bougie. $20 for some random app I forgot I subscribed to. And, oh look, another $50 on Amazon for, what, a portable popcorn maker? Who was I even trying to impress? It wasn't like I was broke. I had a decent job, but somehow my money was disappearing faster than free drinks at happy hour. The worst part wasn't the numbers, it was the shame. How was I supposed to focus on building the life I wanted when I couldn't even control my spending habits? Every month, I'd tell myself, this is it, I'm going to be responsible. And every month, I'd somehow end up right back in the same cycle. Then one day, I hit a wall. I'd just gotten charged another overdraft fee because, of course, I didn't realize my Netflix renewal hit on the same day as my gym membership. It felt like life was mocking me. That's when I knew something had to change. At my lowest point, I stumbled on Atomic Habits, a book I'd heard about a million times but never actually picked up.
For building a good one, you want to make the habit obvious. So you want the cues of your habits to be obvious, available, visible, easy to see. You want to make it easy. So scaling it down, reducing friction, and then you want to make it satisfying. The more rewarding or beneficial, the more enjoyable it feels, the more likely you are to repeat it.
And to be honest, I was skeptical. I mean, tiny changes for remarkable results sounds like something you'd see on a motivational poster. But desperate times call for desperate measures, so I gave it a shot. And then it hit me. Hard. One idea jumped out and smacked me across the face. Focus on systems, not goals. I had been so fixated on outcomes, saving more, spending less, getting my finances together, that I never stopped to think about the process. My plan for fixing my money problems was basically just willpower sprinkled with guilt. No systems, no structure. No wonder I kept failing. James Clear explained it perfectly. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Boom, there it was. I wasn't failing because I was lazy or undisciplined. I was failing because I didn't have the right systems in place to make success inevitable. So, I started small. Really small. My first move, tackling my spending triggers. Law 1, make them invisible. I realized most of my money was slipping away in the same predictable ways. Those limited time offers cluttering my inbox, late night boredom scrolling on Amazon, and that oh-so-familiar Uber Eats splurge after a long day. Here's the wild part. Once I saw these triggers for what they were, just habits, it became almost too obvious. It wasn't about stopping myself in the moment. It was about removing the temptation altogether. I unsubscribed from every promo email I could find. I moved my credit card to a drawer across the room. No card in my wallet meant no impulse buys. It sounds ridiculously simple, right? But that's the beauty of it. Small, consistent actions that compound over time. And once I got a taste of how those little tweaks could snowball into big changes, I was hooked. I started looking at every bad financial habit in my life and thinking, how can I hack this? That's when I turned to the full Atomic Habits framework and everything started to click. Let me walk you through the rest of the biggest financial bad habits I tackled and exactly how I applied James Clear's framework to turn them around. 1. Not tracking expenses. Habit stack it. Tracking expenses? I used to avoid this like the plague. It felt overwhelming, and honestly, I didn't want to face the truth. But here's where Clear's habit stacking idea saved me.
For breaking a bad habit, you just invert those four. So rather than making it obvious, you want to make it invisible. Rather than making it attractive, you want to make it unattractive. Rather than making it easy, you want to make it difficult. And rather than making it satisfying, you want to make it unsatisfying.
I tied expense tracking to something I was already doing. After dinner, I'd pull out my phone and log every purchase for the day. Just 2 minutes, no judgment. And let me tell you, that first week, painful. But by week 3, it became automatic. I started noticing trends, like how much I was wasting on coffee runs I didn't even enjoy. Awareness turned into action, and just like that, my spending started to shift. 2. Ignoring savings, automate, and celebrate. Here's a confession. I used to think savings were just whatever was left over at the end of the month. Spoiler alert, that never worked. Enter Law 3 and 4 make it satisfying. I set up an automatic transfer to my savings account every payday. No thinking required. Then I added a visual tracker on my fridge to mark milestones. The first time I hit $1,000 in savings, I celebrated with a guilt-free dinner out. That little reward, it kept me motivated to keep going. 3. Frequent takeout. Reduce friction. If impulse spending is the king of bad habits, frequent takeout is definitely the queen. After a long day, the last thing I wanted to do was cook. But here's what I learned. Making good habits easier is key. Every Sunday, I batch cooked a few simple meals and stocked my fridge with ready-to-eat options. I also made a habit of keeping quick, go-to recipes on my phone for those what do I eat moments. With dinner already halfway done, ordering in stopped being the default. 4. Overusing credit cards. Make it difficult to overspend. Credit cards, they're like that friend who's always up for a good time but leaves you with the bill. It's way too easy to swipe, and before you know it, you're trapped in a cycle of minimum payments and endless interest. To break free, I had to tackle the root problem. Make overusing credit cards as inconvenient as possible. I removed all but one card from my wallet and stored the rest in a drawer buried under a pile of paperwork. Online shopping? I deleted my saved card details from every site and app. Each time I wanted to buy something, I had to physically dig out a card and manually input every single detail. It might sound small, but the added friction worked like magic. It gave me just enough time to think, do I really need this? To go further, I left my credit cards at home and switched to using cash or a debit card for daily expenses. With cash, every dollar leaving my hand felt real. There was no invisible spending, no delay in seeing the impact. It added friction to spending and made me think twice before making unnecessary purchases. The results? My spending dropped, my savings grew, and for the first time, I felt in control. By making overspending difficult, I finally broke the cycle of mindless credit card use, and it was worth every deliberate step. And that's the beauty of Atomic Habits. It's not about massive overhauls or sheer willpower. It's about stacking tiny, consistent wins. These 5 changes didn't just fix my finances, they gave me back control, one habit at a time. But here's the thing, they don't tell you about the valleys. It's not a smooth, straight climb to financial freedom. It's jagged, messy, and full of emotional landmines. It's what James Clear calls the valley of disappointment. And trust me, I stepped on plenty. Take Black Friday, for example. The emails came rolling in. Up to 70% off, don't miss out. It was like a perfect storm. Months of discipline wiped out in one impulsive spree. I blew hundreds of gadgets and clothes that I absolutely didn't need. The guilt hit me like a freight train. All I could think was, you just undid everything. That moment could have been the breaking point. But then, I remembered something from Atomic Habits. A simple but powerful mantra. Missing once is an accident. Missing twice is a habit. Clear's words pulled me back from the edge. This wasn't about being perfect. It was about getting back up faster than I fell. So instead of spiraling, I analyzed what went wrong. My triggers were all still there. Email promotions, one-click checkouts, even that tiny buzz of dopamine from scoring a deal. But now, I had the tools to fight back. I blocked the worst offenders in my inbox. I added a 24-hour waiting rule before any purchase. I even started a Black Friday regret jar, putting in $5 for every impulse buy I avoided. And yeah, it worked. Here's the lesson. Setbacks aren't failures, they're part of the process. Every time you bounce back, you're reinforcing the identity you're trying to build. For me, that was someone who controlled their finances, not the other way around. And as I kept pushing forward, something unexpected happened. The changes I was making to declutter my finances started spilling over into every other part of my life. It was like clearing up one corner of my habits created space for everything else to thrive. Let me show you how. At first, it was just the numbers. Less money bleeding out on random purchases, more cash stacking up in my savings. I paid off $8,000 in debt faster than I thought possible. My emergency fund hit $5,000, a number I used to think was reserved for people way more responsible than me. For the first time in years, I wasn't scared to check my bank balance. But here's where it gets crazy. Fixing my finances wasn't just about money. It was about control. Discipline in one area of my life started spilling over into everything else. I had proof that systems worked, and I wanted to see where else I could apply them. That side hustle I'd been too scared to start, I finally made the leap. Even my relationships felt lighter, less burdened by the constant stress of money problems. Clearing one cluttered corner of my life really made space for everything else to thrive. And here's the thing, this isn't just about me. If you're sitting there thinking, that all sounds great, but I could never do it, let me tell you, I've thought the same thing. But it all starts with one small, deliberate change. It's about tiny shifts, 1% improvements, that when compounded can transform not just your bank account but your entire life. But here's the real kicker. This isn't the finish line. Think of this as the foundation. Once your finances are in order, you've freed up mental space, emotional energy, and let's be honest, a lot less stress to focus on the things that truly matter. If you've made it this far, you're already ahead of most people. By applying the principles from Atomic Habits, you're not just reshaping your wallet, you're redefining your mindset around money. If you haven't read Atomic Habits yet, I highly recommend picking up a copy. This book goes deeper into strategies and examples that can completely transform not just your financial life, but every aspect of who you are becoming. And if you're ready to keep building your momentum, I've got something for you. Check out my next video. If you're ambitious but distracted, watch this. It's all about regaining focus and cutting through the noise to achieve your biggest goals. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments which habit you're excited to tackle first, and don't forget to take that first 1% step today. See you in the next video.